Hello, welcome to the special interview for Awaaz India TV. Science is developing day by day. But what is happening is that many scientists say that we have not even reached in the middle of the path of knowing the truth of the universe. We are just in the beginning of knowing the truth of the universe. We are far way behind than that. So, amongst those scientific thinkers, we have one scientific thinker amongst us who calls himself as a human being free thinker rather than calling himself any particular free thinker. His name is Dhiman Vijaymankar. Welcome to our show, sir. He is a cosmo-humanist, national president of Ambedkarite Party of India, and a great academician. He has recently discovered a new theory of cosmo-humanism. This interview is going to focus on this topic only: what is cosmo-humanism and how it is being discovered by Dhiman Vijaymankar. Welcome to our show, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, what is cosmo-humanism?
I can, explain cosmo-humanism in very simple terms. Cosmo-humanism is about the many laws and multiple solutions of the cosmos, nature, and world. It is about, science, truth, humanity, and all others. Humanity, apart from humanity, all life, whatever is there in the biosphere or the ecosystem, or there can also be an extraterrestrial life if found. It is about science and solutions, science and knowledge. So, this is very, a simple aspect about cosmo-humanism. Cosmo-humanism is not only universal, but it is also cosmic. It is applicable to each and everything.
You have discovered one terminology, that is Angomaggo. So what do you mean by this?
Because if the cosmos, if you see, or even if you see a human-made world, you'll find that there is no one path for development, or no path of understanding the truth. There are many paths for development, for change, or for understanding the truth. That is so true about the human-made world, and it is also seen. It can also be seen from the cosmos or the physical laws of the nature, because there are many laws on which the cosmos operates or functions.
How have you discovered this cosmo-humanism?
See, while I was studying science much more in detail, I can say that though I'm not a scientist, but I have been a student of science. I've done my MSc Tech in geology. And after going into civil services and studying a lot of constitution and political science and public administration and all those things and ideologies and philosophies, then I started reading science much more in detail. From 2015-16 onwards, I started reading much more in detail. By reading science not merely as physics, chemistry, or mathematics, or not merely as geology or some environmental science or something like that, but understanding science from the perspective of scientific laws. Okay, what is there in the cosmos? How does the cosmos functions? What is the end of cosmos? What is the origin of cosmos? Whether we have known all these things. So this mystery, I wanted to understand. Okay. And for understanding this mystery, I went to science and started studying, various scientific theories and laws. Okay. And therefore, this understanding developed. And also, as far as the human-made world is concerned, I started studying the various, history and the political developments of the world. Right since, the prehistory, that is the development of Homo sapiens sapiens. And from there, ancient history and then modern history also. Not only of India, but the whole world. Then I also understood that there have been many changes and many ways. And therefore, I developed this new theory or new research of cosmo-humanism.
In your book, you talk about many laws and multiple solutions. Would you elaborate what is this?
See, there are many laws in cosmos. If you can study, physics in particular, I would say. There is a law of gravity and motion. Okay, there are new laws of quantum gravity and motion. There are laws of thermodynamics. Then there is a theory of relativity. Then there are, geophysical laws. Understood? There are mathematical laws. Coming to the life, there are Mendelian laws. There are the genetical laws. Okay? There are so many laws. Laws of chemistry also they are there. Okay? Yes. So many laws are there which constitute the functioning of the universe. Okay? So we have to understand exactly how the universe functions according to these laws.
Since you are thinking on cosmohumanism and you have done so much of research, so according to you, what do you really mean by science?
See, science is a way of thinking. I would say science is a way of thinking. And 3 or 4 things you see, they are integral to science. One, you see, science should have a scientific theory. When we say that science should have a scientific theory, then science should be able to provide a cogent, you see, explanation. Science, you see, it provides, you see, experimentation for that explanation, and that experimentation is a sort of an evidence, and science also provides the calculations in mathematics. So unless there is no experimentation, there is no explanation, and there is no mathematical calculation, it is not considered as science.
Theory of everything is their theory, and your theory is cosmohumanism. So can you correlate this?
No, theory of everything is a very basic theory of science, and it is a theory which is awaiting, you see, research and a breakthrough. Because if you consider, you see, the various theories of sciences, you see, the theory of relativity was there, which was, you see, discovered by, you see, Einstein. Then there have been many theories, quantum gravity theories, quantum gravity loop theories, then holographic theories have been there. Then coming forward, there have been, you see, string theories, superstring theories, then you see M theory. So now you see, but all these theories, they have not been in a position to explain the operation of the 4 fundamental forces of, you see, nature. Yes. The 4 fundamental forces of nature are, if we consider them, you see, the electromagnetic forces, then the strong and weak nuclear forces, 3, and the 4th force is, let me be very precise, electromagnetic force, and the strong and weak nuclear force, and the force of gravity. Okay, so these 4 forces, how they are related to each other. Then what is the relation of energy to matter? What is the relation of time and space? Okay. Whether you see cosmos is in 4 dimensions, or whether you see there are more dimensions. Whether the observable universe is only the end of universe, or there are many other universes. That is called the multiple universes. How did it all originated? How it is going to end or continue? In what manner? What would be the law for that? Only what laws I have mentioned earlier, whether they are the only laws or there are different laws for, you see, different cosmoses. Okay? All these questions, whether there is a state of nothingness, whether there is a state of voidness, whether there is a thing where there is nothing. Okay? So all these things will be proven by theory of everything. So theory of everything would be the one single theory which would provide, you see, all the plausible answers that human being has been searching for the cosmos.
Talking about cosmos, so according to your study, what is cosmos?
Now, as we see the observable universe, they say the observable universe is starts from the Big Bang, okay, and has expanded to some over, you see, 90 billion, you see, light years now. In this observable, you see, cosmos, there are, you see, various, you see, galaxies, yes. Okay, and there are planetary systems that we are living. But the question remains that whether, you see, this observable universe is the only universe, or there is another universe. Okay. So the string theory, which suggests superstring theories, they suggest multi-universes. Okay, but you see, the experimentation is awaited. Why the experimentation is awaited is due to the fact that it requires a lot of, you see, high energy and a low energy, you see, experimentation. You see, the Planck scale starts from 10 raised to the power minus 35. Okay. So this is the starting point of the Planck scale, 10 raised to the power minus 35. The Hubble scale is 10 raised to the power 25. Okay. Within the scale, we have to, you see, perform the experimentations. So if you are required to have high energy experimentations, you require more energy or the same energy as that of sun. Okay. You require particular accelerators for that. Okay. So those accelerators are yet to be developed. So Hubble telescope can observe, you see, only the observable universe. Okay. We can understand only the 4 dimensions. But if you study the quantum mechanics, or quantum figure, there can be many dimensions also. but it has to be proven in mathematics and experimentation. So
Okay.
therefore, you see, a theory of everything is awaited.
Does the consciousness can be proved in mathematical or in physics perspective?
If it is existing in science, if it has something to do with energy, matter,
Yes.
okay, it should be proven mathematically also.
What do you mean by cognitive revolution? As you have mentioned in your book that there is cognitive revolution.
Cognitive revolution, if you study the origin of the Homo sapiens, okay. From, you see, I will not go, you see, much back, but there has been a major development since 20 lakh years, okay. But from Neanderthals and Denisovans, then you see Homo sapiens emerged. That is called the wise man. So how Homo sapiens emerged? You see, there was a change in the genetic faculty of human being. Okay, and this genetic faculty of human being, it started giving us the same faculty, cognitive faculty, as we possess today. This phenomena, genetical transformation in human being, happened 70,000 years before. That is called the cognitive revolution. The human being was same as we are, as far as the physical and cognitive faculties are there. That is the cognitive revolution, from where you see human beings started thinking, started developing various things.
When we see that religion claims that they are the ultimate truth, so-called, they say like that, but in your aspect, as you are a scientific thinker, what will you say, that is it the ultimate truth?
While studying, you see, science, and you see, if someone has also studied religions and philosophies, one can come to a very easy conclusion that religions, what they proclaim to know the final, you see, truth, is not proven in science at all. Okay. Once again, I am saying, if there is no cogent theory, if there is no experimentation, if there is no calculation, it cannot be scientific. So if I say there is a God or there is no God, there is a liberation, there is no liberation. But I don't have a theory for that. I don't have calculations for that. I don't have experimentation for that. It cannot be said science. It's only an imagination.
Okay, religion is imagination. So, as you are saying that cosmohumanism is related to science, then how will it gonna be used by the human beings? What is its use, and what are its benefit for the human beings?
You see, science is used in every field of human life now. Now you see, suppose we are conducting this interview. If there have been no camera and you see lights and your editing tools, there cannot be a effective interview.
I'm asking about cosmohumanism.
Cosmohumanism, it deals about science. Yes. It deals about truth, humanity, and all of this. It deals about many laws and multiple solutions. Okay. Now suppose if I want to apply cosmohumanism. So suppose if let us take an example of India. Okay. How I would apply cosmohumanism. So many laws and multiple solutions of cosmos, nature, and world. Okay. So first thing, that what if my party comes to power, or if I'm conducting politics, I would try to explain science to the people. I would encourage scientists and scientific institutions. I would encourage education of science and technology in India. Okay. And through this researches and inventions, I would start applying it to every institution of the national life in India. Okay. So you see, the change would come. I would not confine to only one. You see, there was a great, ideological conflict and dilemma. That whether world can change through socialism or capitalism. Okay.
Yes,
that was a dilemma. Okay. Yes, but now we are coming to a point whether religion can answer all the problems, or whether philosophy. But now the world is coming to this conclusion that science is having the answers for almost all the problems of the human being.
In current situation, how many world orders are there according to you?
If you study, the whole, world history and political science, at present, there are, mainly, there is a order of capitalism with liberal democracies and constitutions and rule of law. That is one order in which, the Western world is living, and we are also living. Then there is an order, there is a communist order now. The communist order, sorry, not a communist order exactly, but a Chinese order. That is what they say, that it is a Chinese version of socialism. Now it is not based on constitution or rule of law, though there is a constitution of China, but see that CCP is a supreme party. So the sovereignty lies with the CCP, it's not with the constitution or the people. Okay, they are having their own order. Then the third order, though it's a very limited order, but it's an Islamic order. Okay. If we see the Islamic Brotherhood and all those things, the Arab world, the Middle East, There you can find that sort of an order. So briefly we can say three orders are prevailing in the world today. One of capitalism with liberal democracies and rule of law and constitutions. One, the Chinese version of socialist order. And the third one is the Islamic version of, political version of Islamic order in the Middle East.
So these all orders differ from each other.
They differ from each other to a very large extent.
How?
They differ in the sense that if you see, if I compare, the rule of law and democracy and capitalism. And if I take the Chinese order, then the Chinese order, it is not based on rule of law. It is a rule by law. It is not rule of law. Then capitalism is about a free contract. Okay, but China has adopted that capitalism and transmogrified it into state capitalism, along with the features of socialism. Okay, so there it differs. In liberal democracies, there is a multi-party system. In China, there is a single-party system. These are the major, differences.
Yeah, as you have discovered cosmo-humanism. So, have you applied it practically?
Yeah, in Ambedkar Right Party of India, we have adopted it, started applying now. All my bills and petitions, what I'm now doing, or conducting the politics, it is basically mainly on the basis of understanding of cosmo-humanism. That what law is applicable where. Even if I speak about our world, I'm advocating that the Constitution of India requires some very positive amendments. Okay. Why I'm advocating this? I'm the first leader of India who's very vociferous about this thing, that the Constitution is good, but it is not wholesome. I'm being saying this. It is not having the remedy for each and everything. And therefore, it requires very, very positive amendments. So why I'm saying though, because I'm having this understanding that this law should be applied in the Constitution in this manner. The Constitution should have human rights. It should have a provision for proportional representation system. It should have a provision for judicial accountability. Okay. Understood? So because I'm having an understanding that change would come by different laws. Okay, the different solutions, how we are applying. If I speak about economics, I don't consider merely a socialism or capitalism can provide this answer. Okay, I'm designing a version of economics which will provide an answer to both socialism and capitalist models. Okay, where India can become rich, people can also be rich, and there can be also welfare.
So you are talking that there should be multiple solutions.
Yeah.
So how would you summarize our talk?
Summarizing our talk in a very simple manner, I can say that there is no one way. There is anekango maggo. Change would not come by one path. Change would come by many paths. But while understanding the many paths, the understanding of many laws, not only of human-made world. In human-made world also there is a constitutional law, civil law, criminal law, customary law. Then there is an international law. There is law of aerospace. There is law of seas. Understood? So you should have an understanding of all these laws. If I can consider human-made world, there is an order of capitalism. There is an order of socialism. There is an order of Islamism. Okay. You should have an understanding of all these things. Where to apply what? How to bring change? What are the positives and the defects of all these things? Okay. Then speaking about science and technology, now the era of fourth industrial revolution is going on. We are on the verge of within 20 years or 25 years from now, artificial intelligence would become more intelligent than human beings. Okay. So how that would be applied? Whether we will be competing with the machines, okay, or whether we will adopt machines within ourselves, whether we will enter into an era of transhumanism, post-biological stage. So whether we will remain human beings, compete with machines, that won't be possible with artificial intelligence, or whether we will adopt machines and become a post-biological transhumanistic stage. Okay. So we will have to think according to that. Now if I apply it to my policy of education, suppose if I apply all this cosmo-humanism to education, I will necessarily make every child of India understand science, understand humanism, understand the various knowledges of the world, various orders of the world. Because we have to make India like that, a new India, a Modavedchi Gondwana, that's what I call, which can guide the world and compete with the world, and also contribute the better things for the world. Okay. So I will apply this in my education policy. I'll apply this in my economic policy, I'll apply this in labor policy, agricultural policy, gender policy, environmental policy, everything I would apply. But the basis would be many laws and multiple solutions of the cosmos, nature and world. Along with science, truth and humanity, I would also consider about other life, about the environment and ecosystem and biosphere.
So this was Dhiman Vijaymankar sir telling us about his discovery and how a free thinker should be in the existence. So we will be back with him with new topics and new interesting subjects. Till then, stay tuned. Very much thank you, sir, for giving us your precious time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having such a nice interview. It was the first interview on cosmo-humanism, systematically taken by an event. I congratulate you for that, and thank you, Awaz India, for a very wonderful discourse.
Viewers, stay connected. We will be back with the new interesting topic. Till then, stay tuned.